Hello, everyone. I'm Adele Levine, your house medium, and I just want to get started by letting you know before we get in today's episode. I just wanted to hop on and say you are in for a good one. I have a special guest you may recognize from a popular paranormal TV show. They bring their own unique practice and insight, and I can't wait for you to hear and they have to say. Starting over, Citric. Here we go. Hi, everyone. It's me, Adele Levine, your house medium. Before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to hop on and say you're in for a good one. I have a special guest you may recognize from a popular paranormal TV show. They bring their own unique practice and insight, and I can't wait for you to hear what they have to say. It's going to be good. You guys are going to have a good time. I promise. Quick reminder, my memoir, Seer, the Origin Story, is available now on Amazon, both on for Kindle and for print. I'm working on audio. This update version includes a full table of contents, important editorial fixes. Huge thanks to those of you who pointed things out. And yes, the audiobook is on its way. Give me a minute, everyone. Also, just want to remind you 50% of all my readings ends May 15th. So use the code HEART at checkout on my site. And lastly, keep an eye out. I'll be a guest on A Funny Feeling, one of my favorite podcasts, hosted by friends and great supporters, Marcy and Betsy. Depending on when you hear this, it may already be out. All right, so let's get started and get into the episode. Can't wait for you guys to hear this one. Hello, everybody. So, you heard me give a little teaser of who I have on. I didn't totally reveal everything. This is Tarot Reader. He's been reading a long time, I think about 30 years, baby.
33 in
He
June. Yeah.
looks a little young for that.
Honey, it's all this angles. It's the angles in the ladder.
He's a paranormal investigator. He is a tarot card reader. You might know him from an Emmy-nominated show called Living for the Dead. The best name ever, by the way. I love the title. This is Ken Boggle. Hello,
Hi.
Ken.
Hi, everybody. I talked over my intro, but you're so engaging. I had to. I mean, that's just what I'm like. I love that. That's so true. What a great name. And it was Roz Hernandez who came up with it.
It's a great name. I
She's
love it.
she's
I
a
love it.
bag of great genius. She's very intelligent, very smart.
Yeah. Let's get into like all of it. So we were talking, and of course I had me being like a fellow reader, I'm like, how do I sound like, like I'm in really interviewing him and say the things people always say. And one of the questions was like, how did you get started? And I'm like, I literally was writing this going, this is not what I want to say to him. And then he comes on and says, people always ask questions. I'm like, damn. All right, he already read me, and perfect, because I don't want to ask those questions. So I'm so happy. I want to kind of more know, like, what do you feel is the darkest side of doing this work?
Oh boy, the dark side.
Yeah, I'm just gonna dive into the darkest, hardest part, because I feel like what we do is always glorified, a lot.
Yeah.
I've been reading not 30, but about 25 and professionally reading. And what I find, and I want to know from you, is that people kind of see it like, oh, that's so cool. It's such a cool life. And you're like, damn, do they not know?
Triple Aquarius, I can't hide my face. I'm like,
oh, no wonder I love you. Aquarius, my favorite sign. Leo over here.
oh, cool.
I know. You guys are like butterflies always running away from us, but we love you over here on the Leo.
Or somebody throwing knives. It depends on what day it is. It depends on what day it is.
And we like chasing you, like, do you like us? Because we're Leos. But anyway, so tell us, like, what do you feel? Like, give the real.
The real is the thing that's the darkest part of what we do is the fact that we absorb what we are doing
Mhm.
voluntarily or involuntarily, we get some part of that that stays with us. And shaking that, releasing that is so incredibly vital. And also the
Mhm.
fact that we're usually little sponges anyway.
Yeah.
And so we go through our own life in a weird way of always absorbing information voluntarily or involuntarily. And I think that that's hard. And then I think the expectation that people have that you're some sort of a circus animal,
Oh
it
my
blows my mind.
god. Oh my god. Listen, this is like what I say people think I am. I'm
Oh,
in a
yes.
box like Zoltar,
Yeah.
right? Yes, that's like the circus animal. That is the hardest part. You're absolutely right.
I got invited to a party, and this person who I'd known for years was like, "Oh, you got to come to this party," and I was like, "Cool." So
Mhm.
I showed up in like blue jeans and a polo, and like I was looking very daddy, and as usual,
As usual.
but I wasn't in the gear. And when I
Mm.
got to the door, she said to me, "What's wrong?" She looked me up and down and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Nothing." Why? She's like, "Where are you? Where's your hat box? Why, what are you wearing? Where
Mhm.
are your cards?" And I said to her, "You wouldn't invite Elton John here and then ask him to play the piano, would you? You wouldn't invite Beyonce here and then demand that she dance, would you? Quit being rude." But it hurt my heart big time. It hurt my heart big
Yes.
time. Just because I don't want to be the guy who's just expected to perform at the drop of a hat. First
Yeah.
of all, get an appointment. Second of all, a private appearance for me is a pretty freaking penny, so you better get your purse out. And third of all, this is not a party. This is a job. You invited me to a job. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it's who you are. It's a way of life, and this is why I don't go to a lot of parties, Ken.
Yeah. Well, that or you get somebody sticking their hand out like, "What do you see? What do you see? Am I going to have a baby?" Or the worst. The other day, I had a lady ask when her dad was going to die. Because she
Mhm.
wanted the money. She didn't realize I knew she wanted the money, but everything about those cards was
We
like 7
know,
of
we
swords and
know.
greedy, and
Yeah.
you're looking for your 10 of coins. I get you. I know the drill.
Mhm.
But they don't I don't know. That's pretty dark. And then, engaging with spirit is always dodgy. You gotta be very careful about what you do there. But yeah, those are 3 really big points. The what you do take away from yourself, the readings themselves, and then, paranormal investigating and things. You come up against some weird energy.
But I feel like what you're describing, I always say to people, it's a lonely path. It's a much lonelier path because people do kind of see you. Because I don't use any tools when I see people think any moment they can just ask me something or what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? It's the same thing. And yes, I would say he said it perfectly. The whole animal trick, like I always say to people, it feels like I'm some kind of like freak, you know.
Yeah.
And mhm.
And I make sure they know in the heartbeat that that slips from their mouth. In the heartbeat that that happens. The next thing I say to them, void of any real personality, is don't make this mistake because I'm not the one.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
maybe that's a part of why I got successful too, is because I'll look you in the face and be like, I'm not the one. And like I get Drita
Mhm.
Diavanzo, so not that bad, but like, I mean, I'm not,
You're
li-
blunt.
but I'll tell you the truth. And the first truth is that I'm not here as a circus animal. I'm here to help people. That's all I do. So, like,
Mhm.
you don't come to me just for fun. You better have reasons.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay,
Yeah.
so what would you say let's flip it on the other side of the coin. What do you feel is the lighter, kind of, colorful, rainbowy, good feeling vibes part
When
of
I
it?
when I get to predict a baby,
Oh, yes, those are
when I get to
good.
predict a baby, I'm up to 13. Baker's
Mhm.
dozen. I got to name some of them. My cost for that, my bill for that is that you pay for the appointment, and that if the parents for any reason have an issue with a name, I get to choose between, like, if it's a middle name or something. I'm the deciding factor.
Wow.
Like
You're like
if
the
you
godfather
if
over
you,
here.
I've got 3, 4 godchildren. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But my rule is if there's no argument, I won't pick anything. But if you do decide what the middle name should be and there's an issue, I'm the tiebreaker. So you'll find
Wow.
a lot of the kids, or a good portion of them, have the middle name Grace.
You're just naming all these various cards. Yeah, like Grace number one, Grace number two.
They all have first names like
Like,
Sullivan.
wow, he
Sullivan, she's
chose
got
my name, Grace. Like, so do like me too. Okay, bitch. That's
yeah, yeah. But,
that's awesome.
I say predicting babies is great. I love that. I love I will say the one of the lightest, greatest feelings in the world is hearing somebody say, "I can do it."
Oh,
That's
that's
a good one.
nice.
I love that. I love that. I can do it. I love when people leave me and they feel loved. And
Yeah,
the thing about an in-person reading with me is that even when we were filming the show, I make everybody hug me. Everybody who's a part of it, they have to hug me because this is how I
really.
shut off and how I release back to you what I've been given. Is I make you stand there
Oh,
and I make you breathe with me and I make you shut down with me. Like so, I
that's
can tell you
nice.
the number of people who have released in my arms and sobbed or laughed or cried or
I bet.
healed. It is outrageous. So that's a really
Mhm.
big, beautiful thing. I think
Yeah,
healing is always good. So that's a
that's
beautiful
very.
sparkling. Yeah.
I like that. I like that you do that. That's very unusual, I will
Yeah.
say, for
I
a
say
reader to do that.
it's why I stay sick. My doctor said to me, he was like, Ken, you've got to stop hugging people. I had COVID 8 times so far. And he said, you're going to have to stop.
What?
Yeah, you're going to have to stop hugging people. And I said, well, then you might as well go ahead and kill me. You might as well put me out because there is no way I'm ever gonna not hug somebody.
Wow.
If you're in tears, make room because it's how to summon Uncle Ken. I will bust like the Kool Aid Man. I'm just gonna bust through a wall. Like, did you need a hug? Come to Uncle Ken. You know what I mean? Like that's who I am, dude. And it's never gonna change. I said, to my doctor said, you might as well kill me because I ain't changed. I'll see you next week for my steroids and my inhaler and my antibiotics.
I
Get it
mean,
with it.
I've this is making me feel a little different because I just got COVID for the first time. So what does that say? That says I'm not
Oh,
hugging nobody.
well, I mean,
So you have to go to Ken if you want some hugs. I will help you all day long. But if you want hugs, you got to go to Ken.
come see Uncle Ken. I often joke that because of my weight gain, I'm a Santa in training. Like everybody's going to come to me from that white beard. I don't know. One of my girlfriends said a very
But it's
dark
all
Santa.
like opposite because you got black on, a black beard. You're like the yang. You're like the what is it? The yang to Santa's yin or
My
whatever.
girlfriend said you're like Krampus. I'm like Krampus.
That's what I was gonna say. But that's taking children away. You're giving people children.
I
So
mean, it's all the same thing. As long as they're good children, right? You get to keep the kids. Bless it. How funny is that?
that's really good. That's really interesting. It is true. I 100% agree. You have to like I always tell people, I see it like a glass wall. Like that shit goes back to you, bounces back to you, you know, don't you don't absorb it. You can't absorb it. You can't
Oh,
absorb it because if you absorb it, you'll never be able to move around in the world.
I absorb it. And that's one of the
You
hard things.
absorb it?
So, like at the end of my
Really?
day, at the end of each reading, I make people. I have certain rituals that I do that release it, and these
Okay.
rituals are every day. If I'm with a person, there's a hug, but then there's how I take the cards. I take the cards. Say I did a 7 card spread. One,
Okay.
two, three, four, five, six, seven. I take it backward. I pick up seven, six, five, four, three, two, one. And as I'm doing that, I'm putting back. I'm letting go of everything that I did. Everything that I did
Oh, okay.
to me is good. We're
Mhm.
good to go. You know, we've made peace with it. We've learned what we could learn, and I'm returning that back. Like that's usually
Okay.
what it is. A hug
I like it. It
comes.
feels like energetically I could feel your energy. Everything's very like purposeful. I felt your energy watching the show. Like, I mean, seers, we can recognize each other. And I was like, this is like he's the real deal. I can feel it. It's more of not just see, but feel, see,
Yeah.
but a different kind of sight, obviously. And it feels like you really live in that energy all the time.
Yep.
How do you
As
how do you do your life then?
I wake up every morning with the prayer that goes like this. I acknowledge my debt of gratitude and offer profound appreciation to the functions in life and the environment that serve to protect me, both mystical and those I do not understand, and those here in flesh and blood. Mama Kim, Mama Sita, my partner, people that take care of me. And then may you yourselves be blessed. May you yourselves be blessed so that you can better benefit and protect me. And I do the sign of the cross. I do some Hail Marys. I do that before I get out of bed. Then I have a cup of coffee, I stumble to the bathroom, and I then do my Buddhist practice of chanting, praying, and meditating. And then I do my actual work, which causes me to turn on and tune in. I light candles, I burn incense, I ring bells, I dance to get the vibe. I always dance to The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. I
Mhm.
always kind of swirl around in that energy, even if we're in person to person. That's usually the first thing I'm doing. If not, I'm not going to be in a good mood and you're not going to get the best version of me. So I have Fleetwood Mac and then I do my readings. After the readings are done, I shut down, I release, I close off. I have a psychic Ken Boggle bath, which is essentially a baptism. I mean, we're
Wow.
talking sea salt, black salt, blessing the tub, blessing the water, blessing the salts, staying there with single focus vision, no telephone, nothing else. It just says release from me anything I've absorbed, any spirit, energy, deity, or person that no longer serves me, that I might have absorbed voluntarily or involuntarily, may it release. I stay there till the water's done. I then put in good stuff, playing Tina Turner, Annie Lennox,
Mhm.
really great stuff with all
Mhm.
of my really wonderful handmade soaps from Earth Alchemy. My friend Ladybird always gives me the best quality sage bundles. We don't use sage though; we use cypress because of its additional magical quality of
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah.
So we. She makes me cypress bundles. They're everywhere and burns me once a month. And I bathe probably 3 or 4 times a week in that Ken Boggle
Do
ritual.
you do this, like, type of thing every day? This type of
Usually,
cleanse?
yeah, I
Wow.
don't do the sage. I don't do the bundle burning every single
The
day
other
though.
stuff that you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Okay.
I also get Reiki by Kim Wilhite, Kamara Wilhite. I also get remote psychic clearings done from her and from a group in Scotland in the UK.
Mhm.
I do them. I've learned to do them every month.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're very purposeful in cleansing and your
It's
intentions.
aggravating, is what it is. People get aggravated by it.
Why?
Well,
Why do people
because
get aggravated?
because it's always me twirling around in a circle, or me banging a bell, or me all like harnessing the power. I mean, it's just weird. Now the other thing that's really dodgy though is that like completely spiritually clear.
Yeah.
I will sometimes get up in the middle of the night and have conversations around the house.
But you have a lot I can see a lot of people around you.
Well,
You're not
I live.
clearing totally because I see a lot of them.
There's no way I can clear out all of this. Here's stone tape theory in reality.
Okay.
For those who are listening at home, stone tape theories. The energy is trapped inside of certain minerals like stone, limestone
Okay.
being one. Lexington, my home is on a cavern, a limestone cavern with water running
Mm.
and all of our the streets where I'm at are historic, so the electrical lines are crossing each other all around my building. And this was a place of really bad
But
times. I mean,
there's, like, one that's like a woman, though, that seems
oh,
a more of a
I'm telling you,
caretaker.
this whole place has been here since before slavery.
Okay.
The place I live.
Oh.
So before, during, and after. So there's I couldn't possibly clear this
Clear all
room.
of them.
No, and
Mhm.
then of course, like I never clear my spirit guide, who appears feminine. I would never clear my grandmother, Granny Helen, who's
I
with
think
me
it's
all the
the
time.
grandmother that I'm seeing more because
Oh,
they look more like somebody that knows you.
well, she's a force.
Because
That's one of the
it didn't feel like a stranger, but I
one
could
of
tell, like, I was, like, kinda, like, chilling, feeling like there's a lot of energy around you, so you kinda keep a crew.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I like it that way. I like it that way.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a bad thing, but I'm kind of impressed that I just wanna get back to all the cleansings and stuff that you do because I I do, like, tons of readings a day. I do a lot of medium readings, and things, and sometimes I don't do it. Look at his face. If you guys could see his face, he's looking at me.
Sissy, you have to.
I've just gotten so, like, used
I
to
don't care.
I know it's probably bad, right? Because I
I
kinda
love
do a
you.
little, like, boom, 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 we're
I
good.
love you, but promise me once a week, do a heavy cleanse at least once a week.
I will start again. I
Okay.
used to a lot more, but I think hearing you say this is reminding me of something, but the dance, I did wanna touch on that because that is something I do too. You gotta bring in the energy through dancing.
Oh, well, yeah, and I sway. In fact, one of the scenes that was
Yes.
cut from Living for the Dead is me standing in the mirror, and not a mirror. a window at
Okay.
where is it? Waverly Hills, and I was
Okay.
draped in black as I
And
always am,
swaying.
and I was swaying in front of a window, and they came up behind me with the camera, and I asked one of the people in production why it didn't end up in the show, and they're like, it was very weird. It was
Because
very
people don't understand it. When I stand up, I used to do when I would do medium galleries for big groups, I sway because
yeah,
and someone kind of a witch, kind of he was like a high end witch, kind of explained exactly how I've always felt. It's like you're going in between the worlds almost. You're kind of swaying in between the worlds, which that's how I feel. Like you're just kind of keeping the energy moving through
yeah,
you.
but
I get
also
it.
there's also though, just so you know for your own personal reference, that swaying keeps you
Yeah.
feeling the sensations of your body. And I did my classes, my
Oh, that's
psychic
true.
development classes that I offer on
Mhm.
KenBoggle.com. I did this for psychologists and
You could
psychi
say it louder. You could say it louder.
no,
Plug it.
I'm saying that I did it for a psychologist and psychiatrist who
Mhm.
told me
Yeah.
that it was a great way to keep the brain regulated.
Oh.
That feeling, that sensation of being in your body and staying in your legs and staying in your
Mhm.
feet, grounding through was great for brain
It
regulation.
feels amazing. Yeah.
I mean, my granny never knew that, but she did it anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, okay. But I think I'm just gonna add a little something, something and say it definitely makes me feel when I'm doing that like I'm letting myself float between I'm keeping one foot in, one foot out, as
yeah,
above, as a below,
yeah.
the sway. And it's funny how they would think it's weird when it's actually the coolest thing about it's cool, like you're missing the good juicy stuff.
The
Okay, let's
people
talk. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say the people who do know me, they'll love it because, like, before anything in my hotel room, you hear boom, 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 and you hear Stevie playing the tambourine. My God, they Ken Boggle's cooking. When you pass by a hotel room and you hear, "If you don't love me now, you will never love me again. Never break the chain." I mean, I'm in that boom, boom with my breathing, and I'm swaying. I'm standing in front of a window, weird as
Yeah.
hell. People who are around me love it. They're like, "Oh, Ken's cooking. Like Ken,
Yeah.
it's ready. He's cooking. It's great."
People who understand what you're doing, you're conjuring up the energy, you're
Yeah,
getting the vibration up. Yeah, of course. People who get it. Well, let's talk about living for the dead because this was like a really interesting the whole thing was really interesting. And what did you feel like going through that? And I have particular episodes I do want to ask you about just because even when I was watching, I was like, "Whoa, how is he feeling about this?" Just even as a fellow reader, but for people, maybe from the perspective for people who aren't readers, obviously, what was it like for you being so sensitive and having those gifts, like stepping into these, like really, people have been going to those places and they conjure up
right.
energies that aren't even from the place and all this. What was it? What was that whole experience being filmed, from the perspective of somebody who been doing this work for a long time and now you're like got a fisheye on you?
Yeah. Well, the fish I've dealt with before with Tarot Day with Ken Bogle, which was my first TV show. I
Yeah.
always treated the camera like it was a piece of furniture.
Okay. I like
To
that's
me,
smart.
a
I like it.
camera is no different than a crystal ball sitting over there on the other side, or that Buddha sitting there, or that Bigfoot that I have over there in the corner. It's no different. Um,
I love how he drops all these amazing things in his house. He's like, like how we all have a Bigfoot and a crystal ball and a Buddha all hanging out, having a good time.
well,
Yeah.
I also am a big collector of real Tiffany lamps. So, like a $25,000 lamp sitting over at the house. It's just a
Let's
piece of furniture. Anyway,
okay.
um, anyway, so
Yeah.
the thing as a real as a person who's not intuitive, who's moving into these places, the first thing I was always thinking, just as a regular human being, is how safe am I?
Mhm.
How safe am I? And luckily for me, I traveled with a group of people who had security people. We had security folks,
Yeah.
uh, and sometimes those were really necessary. And especially during my birthday while we were filming the Clown Motel, it became a point where security was a necessary thing. And
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about that episode. That's one of the episodes I'm actually really curious about
yeah,
because as soon as I saw that, I could feel the energy
yeah.
was kind of crazy. And
other than those human things, those is like the thing that like I remembered as like a psychic was don't let your fear interrupt your flow. And
mhm.
in that first episode, it wreaked havoc with my flow. My
Okay.
flow was totally off in that first episode because, like, I'm scared of clowns. I mean, thank God for the show. I did some work being immersive therapy, they call it.
It wasn't just clowns, Ken. It was like clowns.
It was
Like, if
this,
you
it,
guys don't know, if you let's remind everybody, they did an episode where they went to the Clown Motel. It's a very famous motel where people go to challenge themselves to see if they can make it through the night. I've seen, there's been all kinds of YouTubes and videos and things, and of course, they all spent the night in the motel, and as soon as you guys walked in, I was like, there's a lot of things I'm fine with. You could put me in the most haunted place ever and it doesn't bother me. But
yeah.
these clowns were it was like what was behind the clowns, the
Uh,
energy felt really strange. What did it feel like in person?
well, really, your point. You really your point in that there's people who go in there willy nilly, not knowing what they're doing, and they think, "What
That's
a great!"
right.
It's almost like playing Bloody
Yes.
Mary in front of a window in high school,
Correct.
or light as a finger stiff, light as a feather
Feather,
stiff as a board. You know, like
stiff as a board, yeah.
it seemed like a more of a sorority or house challenge with frozen pizza and Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
And and then also you got the people who go in who don't really know about cleansing an area, cleansing themselves,
Yes.
being responsible for their energy. And
Right.
I think that a lot of that was left behind. So what I was feeling was all of that plus if you really, and I said this on the Bigfoot Collectors Club, which is a great podcast.
Oh, believe me, everybody who listens to my podcast knows because I've been on there so many times.
They're great.
They know them and they're big fans of them. So
Well,
yeah.
I said it there and I'll say it again. It's the premise of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
They really blindfolded me and put me in my biggest fear ever. It
That's what I was going to ask you about.
was hard.
What was the point of the blindfold? Why was that necessary? You could see without the blindfold. Was it to see what you would sense with, I
To
know
see
that.
what else happens behind the eyes once you when
Mhm.
it's a sensory deprivation thing,
Yeah. But you
which
can see even with the blindfold off.
sissy, honestly, the way it really went was at one point Logan said, "Yeah, I think he's gonna have a heart attack." Now,
Yeah.
I being one of the oldest members, I took that in stride. Oldest cast members, I took that in stride. And also I so love my baby boy Logan Taylor. He could tell me to piss off and I would still be okay with it. So I didn't take it defensively because he was right. At one point, my heart was pounding and sweat was
Yeah.
pouring,
Yeah.
and you could see the veins in my head where I was petrified. And it did mess with how well I did psychically. It messed with it big time. But it's having a dark energy circling you, and then and being surrounded by just these clowns. It was too much, too much.
Well, because the thing about those types of energies, they also don't like to be treated like, "Hey, come, you know, look at us and gawk and think it's fun." So they probably were like, "Well, if you want to have fun, we're going to give you a little fun
Yeah,
and see how you feel about it." And so, but you're the conduit for all that. That's the
yeah.
thing.
Wow,
Because
it
you were,
was not
what
good.
people don't know is he was by himself in the room, blindfolded, like
with the
by
head with the headset on. And
with the
not
headset.
only that, but one of the first things I said to them was, "I never take off the hat. I never take
Oh,
off the hat." And that was the thing. And then sure enough, episode 1, they're
take the
like,
hat
"Well, we
off.
gotta take the hat off so we can put the earplugs in." I mean, like, there's a moment where if whenever that show is seen again, if they release it somehow, if you could ever watch it, there's a moment where I glare at Roz Hernandez as if she's just slapped me and my child in the face. Like
Yeah.
I was so mad about what was happening. And
Yeah.
it's such a stark line between that and like Uncle Ken, who's there to help everybody in their luggage.
Right, right,
I was
right.
furious, and yeah, you could tell I was not
Because your
happy.
hat's like your protector, right? It's protecting that, like, chakra, that whole whatever, just protect. It's like the symbol of protection and your protector. It's like your cap,
But
literally
it
capping everything off,
I
right?
call it the crown. It's because
Yeah.
in my meditation, when I do spiritual psychic development, I connect with the crown of universal wisdom and cosmic truth. Whatever was and is, or ever will be,
Hmm.
exists within this realm of spirit, and I tap into it. When I do that, and this is why I'm swaying. This is while I'm dancing.
Right,
I will.
right.
I'll bring the bowler down to my head and I adjust it. That's me adjusting
Oh,
that.
it's like your ritual.
It
Okay,
is a
yeah.
massive part. That and also, it's my thing that I use as
That's how I feel about my jewelry. So I understand if someone takes that away, it's like this is my Wonder Woman, like
armor.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is like my shield, the Eye of Horus. I have things that are like shielding.
yeah.
And if people say take that away and go do your psychic work,
Bad news
yo,
bears. Bad news
yo,
bears.
yo,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So what did you see? I know what the show shows, but I'm kind of more interested in the
It
real
it
deal,
was
the
it
real.
the seeing wasn't the hard part.
What did
I
you
felt
feel?
like there were these little strikes of gray all around me, which I felt were the clowns that had something else to them, whether it be a good memory, a bad memory, a neutral memory. There were
Yeah.
these little spots, these little gray strikes through the whole place. I could see them. But then there was this black circular thing that was tall and it would come
Yeah.
by and touch my back. And it would touch my
No.
arms. And then like
Not okay.
not okay, right? The
Mm-mm.
thing that was tricking me out the most, dude, was the amount of voices.
Yeah.
And they were all coming from just ahead of my feet, under the
Mm,
ground.
okay.
And that's what jarred me
Yeah.
hardcore. The touching didn't help.
No, no, no. The touching doesn't help, and that is very something that they like to do to let their presence
Yeah,
known.
yeah.
Yeah, that's intense. Like you're just and you didn't know that that was going to happen. There was no that wasn't like on the agenda of like,
No,
hey, forewarning, we're going to throw you into this room alone, blindfold you.
you find that out as soon as I find it out. And you find out the take off
Oh
your head as soon as
my.
I find that out too. There's a lot you see that just doesn't go well for me in that first episode.
I felt like you were getting put through a lot of ringers there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's a
I could feel it because as someone who understands what it feels like when you're like, "This is how I'm gonna do this work, and this is how I need to do this work." Because I don't know if you can answer this, but it didn't I didn't get the impression everyone else had such a strong reaction to the motel. They seemed like they just slept okay, and is that was that real, or
no,
was did
Ross,
they
not really. I mean, there were times that, Logan was taxed. There were times that Juju was taxed.
Okay.
Roz didn't sleep by herself.
Yeah.
Roz just couldn't do it. And, Roz has reasons why, and they're very valid.
Yeah.
Alex was heavily affected by it as well.
Yeah.
I think though that the first episode was just such a blowout boggle moment where it was like so much had happened to me in that one week and a
I
half
know.
of being there that it was just I think they sort of tailored it all down. But the reality was everybody felt it, everybody experienced it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
that was like and the owners of it, it was like was it like a father and son, if I recall?
Brothers, they were brothers.
Brothers, okay. They seemed to know. That's just my impression, like, they knew what was up, and they just were like, this is how we do it." I don't feel like they had no idea that there was, like, this vibe there because it seems
Well,
like they want the vibe there because 'cause isn't that part of the thing to bring people to that?
they didn't want it to be such a negative vibe though. They didn't want it to be such a negative
Oh,
vibe.
okay.
So our suggestion was then cut out all the demonic clown
I
stuff.
know, why do you have these some of those clowns I was like, "Get those clowns out." Some of them are okay. They're okay.
Well,
Yeah.
follow me on this. Follow me on this. If you're
Okay.
trying to get rid of the negative vibes, right?
Yes.
Maybe a mural of the exorcist vomiting at people is a great place to get some interior design help. Maybe.
They're like, "We don't understand why people keep seeing there's negativity here. We don't understand." We're like, "Maybe it's that clown with the serpent tongue screaming at you
Could
with
be
red
that.
eyes.
Could be that.
Yeah, it's I thought it was interesting because I was like, do they really want it to be okay, or is it part of like it is the attraction? There's a lot
Yeah.
of ghost quote hunting, at that motel. Well, what did you do after to cleanse? Did you do double up? Did you double up on your ritual?
I wouldn't have taken a bath in that tub for
Not
God
in that
or
tub.
money or fried chicken. And I love all three. Not for KFC, the Lord, a husband. No. I hadn't gotten that tub. No, no. That's how
Mm-mm.
she gets an antibiotic right there. That's how you need a tetanus shot. I ain't
No,
doing it.
not
So
that tub. When you
no.
got home, did you cleanse yourself? How did you cleanse yourself then? What did
I
you
stood
do?
between the door frames and I
Okay.
stood out in the stone and I would spend
Mm,
time outside on this walk where they had a wood railing and I would just stand there perched and I would breathe in with my receiving hand the energy of the neutrality of
nice.
the earth
Okay.
and push out with my right, all these things. And I did that all the time, swaying all the time.
Okay.
When we got out of there, we ended up going to a really nice hotel just in between break
Yeah.
between the
Right.
first and second episodes, and I found a nice tub there. But sourcing salt, raw sea
uh,
salt, you know,
okay.
ritual standard blend, not
Mm-hmm.
normal and not easy to find, but I did, and I mean, we're talking Copper Queen. They brought one of the producers brought in some blessed medallions. It was Ash Wednesday. And they brought in some blessed medallions because I was saying I don't think this is a human entity. I think it's something else. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right from what I felt that did not feel human, 'cause what I saw. And my question I have a question, speaking of, Ash Wednesday, are you Catholic? Were you raised Catholic? Is
no.
that part of your practice? Have you adopted that part of your practice?
So when I was born, first of all, my past life, I was a Nichiren Buddhist, and when I died, when they killed me in 1969, I was found with my prayer beads around my hands, and my Butsudum was open. I was in the middle of what they call Gongyo, so I
Mhm.
didn't know that. That I was a part of a Buddhist tradition. I didn't know that. As I was growing up, I was in a Southern Baptist, Free Will Baptist,
Mhm.
uh, um, Christian.
Southern Baptist,
Yes. And
okay.
I was opening closing church service with prayer. It was Little Brother Ken is what they
Uh,
called me. And then from there,
oh, wow,
when
that's
I got
cool.
liberated from my parents, I thought there's something I'm missing. And it was
Mhm.
like I could tell it was candles, I could tell it was incense, I could tell it was like a rosary. So I went on the journey of understanding Catholicism and Episcopalian churches. I used to go to those. And
Okay.
met some really wonderful, great people in Episcopalian churches. I really did. But then I started to think, while I'm on this journey, let's look at everything. Judaism, Hinduism. Let's look at
Yeah.
Islam. Let's look at
Mhm.
Buddhism. When I hit the Buddhism, I was getting closer to what I was most familiar from my past life, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai
Oh.
Lama, yeah, and we were talking, was saying, "Oh, I'm going to convert to Buddhist and all these things." And he was like, "No, no, 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 no." The Dalai Lama was like, "Don't convert to anything. Don't convert to anything. Go through life collecting wisdom.
Mhm.
Apply that wisdom where you can. Don't cause the dogmatic upbringing that you had to conflict your soul."
Right.
I was like, okay. So then I started cherry picking. And then I met Nichiren Buddhism 2012, August of 2012. And I've been practicing ever since. So it'll come up on 13 years. And it was exactly as I was chanting in my past life. And it radically changed me 100%. It gave me such courage and strength and faith and in a dignified path to walk that legitimately, when I added it to everything else that I had come to know so far, I found my rhythm, which is a little Catholicism, a little baptism,
Yeah.
a little Buddhist, a little Nichiren Buddhist, a little Tibetan Buddhist, a little. I look at it this way: everybody who's beating a book these days, wrong. The
Yep.
ultimate thing we should be doing is opening these books and finding the passages about love and forgiveness and kindness and mercy and sacrifice. Because when you
Mhm.
boil a lot of them down, as I've gone through, and I didn't study every major religion, but a lot of them, I found
Right.
one thing to be good. If you boiled most of them down, they were about forgiveness and love and mercy,
Correct.
compassion.
Yeah.
So
Compassion.
anybody who's beating a book, don't listen to them. But if they've got it open and they're speaking about something like love and forgiveness, sit next to them. They could teach you something.
Oh, that's I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I always say to people, like, just take a I look at it like my little pot, and I take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put it in my pot, and that's what works for me. Like,
Yeah.
you can get something from all of the different things for
Yeah.
sure. When you
Absolutely.
come from a background like you did in religion, it's very easy because I came from a Seventh-day Adventist background, and it's culty like, but it's very dogmatic. And when you kind of tend to go, "Oh, I'll do this at first," and I'm so glad that you didn't, because it does work better when you just take a little bit, because it's easy to fall into something and go, because you're used to it if you're brought
Right.
up in that way. You know
Right.
what I mean?
But there's part of it that I'll never release. And yet there's part of it, like, say, the Lord's Prayer, that
Hmm.
I use the Lord's Prayer traditionally when appropriate. But there's times that I alter the Lord's Prayer to hit me in spots I need it to hit me. Because
Right.
exactly the way it was worded doesn't really always hit every day. And
Yeah.
usually at night, I'll use the Lord's Prayer, but done in a way that allows me to release and let go of today.
Yeah.
Just to have a beautiful tomorrow and to
Oh,
have a moment
that's
of
nice.
gratitude for where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I followed it up with a couple of Hail Marys because that always feels good. And then I,
Okay.
I always say my little prayer of, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray that God my soul will keep. I
Aw.
will always say that. I'll always say that
Oh.
whether I'm Buddhist or whatever. I'll
Mhm.
always say that because it hits my soul in a beautiful, pure way, and I'm never giving that up, not ever. Like I'm,
No, yeah.
yeah, keeping it.
Yeah. I think if it whatever kind of hits you and and fills you and works for you, you should do it. I mean,
Amen.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so m- I'm jumping back to the show. Um, there was like an episode I wrote down. It was like you were talking to a woman, and I think it was actually episode 3. And then she seemed like, I remember, like, you were talking to this woman, and she looked like, I felt like you were actually hitting, totally reading her spot on. That's what I saw.
Mm,
But I didn't feel like it was what she liked
nope.
hearing. And
Nope.
I was like, he is spot on, because this is what I see with this woman too.
Mhm.
And I know what it feels like when you're like, this is what's happening. You don't want to let go of this. You what? And the person gets mad at you.
Yeah.
So talk about that episode.
So as much as I can say about it, it
Yeah,
went
much as
like
you can say about it.
as
We
much as I can
understand.
say is
We
that
understand. Yeah.
I
I said the things I said because I can, but you say what
well,
much as you
I
can.
in the episode flat out called her a liar.
Mhm.
And I was like, and they were like, well, and I mean, I was like, I can't do an investigation where everybody's not being 100% honest. I now refuse to do it because and actually, the one thing I will say, regardless of how much trouble it gets me in, was that morning I refused to brush my teeth or take a shower or put clothes on until somebody explained to me what the F was really happening in that house.
Yeah.
And I felt very like there was an opportunist situation here.
Mhm.
And I wasn't happy with that uncle. And they were like, Ken, there's a way to go about doing this. You don't have to be so aggressive and
Well, you have to give people a little bit background of what the episode was about for
well,
people who didn't see
this
it yet.
chick
You don't
had,
have to give the whole thing, but
yeah,
just a
this chick
little.
had bought what she claimed to be her dream house, one
Mhm.
of several, and she claimed that she was being haunted at night by something, and she didn't know why. She needed
Mhm.
some experts to come in and help her sort it out. Well, funny because I happen to be an actual paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
So while everybody else was sitting around, I was sitting there in my black robes,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, here Ken goes," and I mean, literally, like attaching the red strings. Ken's going to come up with a theory. Sure as fuck, I did. And it was that
That's
that place was not
interesting.
her house of dreams. It was an Airbnb, and that I had seen it on sale in 2014, way before when I was married. My husband and I thought, wouldn't it be great to one day be in that house? Wrong. I, I mean, like in 2014, we had this moment when we saw it on Zillow.
Oh, you saw the same house.
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay.
As soon as I got there, I called him and said, ex husband, Robbie, my
Mm.
love, here's where I'm at. And he was like, Ken, you're fucking kidding me. I was like, absolutely not. And so then I really started to do some digging. And I found some podcasts where she herself claimed to be an expert in psychic readings, and she herself was an expert in getting rid of human and inhuman entities. And by the time I got finished at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was pissed. I was pissed. Why is this person being opportunistic? Why did they lie to the production people? What's being hid? And I, in my heart of hearts, if I could redo that moment,
Okay.
I would have asked for a second sit down with just me and her. Because after she had convinced the rest of the cast that she was just scared of opening up and she was scared of all this and all that, nobody goes on a podcast and is afraid to open up. You are what you are. Don't play. But
Mhm.
if they wanted to go with that route, cool. But I should have stood up and said, I think as long as you hide your truth, that you'll always have conflict. And I think as long as you hide these secrets that that were so deep down that I couldn't even get to, once you open those up, your life will open up. And also, I'd like to know where your partner is who bought this house. I'd like to know where your partner is why isn't he
Mm.
here? And I have a couple of questions about his relationship with your mother because I heard the podcast and I wanted to Wendy Williams her.
So she on the podcast after the show aired?
No, sissy, before.
Before?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
yeah. Anyway,
Damn. Okay.
I said I think she's a damned liar, and that's in first part of it. And a lot of people attacked me for having said that, but then I doubled down. And Roz and them were like, I never called her a liar. And I walked out of the room, and you can hear it in the episode. I said, I sure as hell did. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to be Ken Boggle, whether that show sinks, flies, swims, or runs for office. I was going to be Ken Boggle, and
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to let something like that tarnish me. I smell
So
shit.
you feel like she was just like wanting to be on the show and was like saying, you can't say for sure, but this just
It is
something
my
was off.
opinion, and this is the legal way to say it. It is my opinion of
Your
her that
opinion.
she was
Okay.
opportunistic. That's my opinion of that
Okay.
person. Yeah.
She definitely was hiding something for sure, and
Yep.
you were getting too close to it. And it's happened many times when you start to read somebody, and it's tricky with TV. That's the thing. That's tricky because it's like you don't have full control over a reading on a TV
No, and
show.
also
Yeah.
you're kind of bound to the fact that you're going to be staying there for a week, and you have more to learn.
Mm,
So you can't really go in whole hog in the beginning because
right.
there's more details. Like there's more things to find out. Like for
Right.
example, when we did put her in a blindfolded sensory deprivation moment, she actually did come up with some things that were being.
Mhm.
I mean, she was being attacked, and not even attacked. She did have some very heavy negative entities around her.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but so I don't think it was all a farce at all. I just think that if you're such an expert, you might want to lead with saying I'm an expert and this has got me stumped.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
to lead with that as opposed to trying to
Well, people aren't gonna normally say that, Ken.
shocker. Well, give me 12
They're
hours. Give me 12 hours in internet access. I'll say it for you on international television. I'll call you a damned liar.
Well, you were being true to your authentic self and
Yeah.
what you really saw and felt, and it's kinda rare. Well, I bet people didn't know what to think about or to
Well,
do.
one producer said, "Can I feel attacked?"
Attacked for
Yeah, because
speaking the truth?
well, honey, I'm a grizzly bear, and I realize that. I'm a
Mm.
grizzly bear. I'm a triple Aquarius. When you pop off with and you get me, and the thing about Aquarians is if you get stuck in their teeth, like they were chewing on something, but there's a seed or something of this of untruth that gets caught in an Aquarius's gum, they're gonna gnaw on that thing all day long. Oh my God, you can't get an Aquarius to stop. They're horrible. We're horrible.
Yeah. I've been married to an Aquarius.
Not great.
That's why I'm not married to that person anymore. No, but I do love them.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
As a friend is better. It doesn't go well. Aquariuses do not go well with Leos. It just
No.
doesn't mix. We need
We've
too
done
much attention.
we've done very well though, you and I sitting here together. We've done very well.
Friendship friendly wise, I love it works totally great. But when you get romantic, then you're like Leos are like, I need this. I need Aquariuses are like, I'll get back to you on that tomorrow. Like, why are you bothering me?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing we didn't tell people. Couple things about the show is that if you're looking for it, it's not on Hulu any longer, but it is out there. I did do the research. You can find pieces of it still
Yeah.
on YouTube and other places. Also, it was kind of unique for another reason, right? Because it was all LGBTQ,
Yeah,
right? Was it the
yeah.
first? So, and we didn't talk touch on that part.
I think it was the greatest thing ever, and I
Mhm.
also think it was the thing that sunk us
Yeah,
because
I think so.
in my opinion, politics ruined Living for the Dead. I think that at that period of time, being it's never been good to be different. Let's just say that. But when you have
That is facts.
such a
Mhm.
diverse, inclusive group
Yep.
of various ethnicities,
Mhm.
sexualities, gender, in this way, America obviously obviously the way they voted proves that they didn't want it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm proud of it being ahead of its time, but it was a thing where I think that it was ahead of its time because of that.
It's like there's a couple things. One, it had that and it's a paranormal show, so we're already looked at as freaks already.
Yeah,
We're already I always tell people this, we're still on people always think like, "Oh, there's shows, there's this, it's cool now," and I go, "We're still fringe people. We're still fringe. We're still considered fringe we're not completely mainstream." So you have that on top of all of everything else and the cast, which the cast was amazing, like you said, just a variety. Every person had their strong personality. It was equally just as everybody's equally as interesting as the next. And I feel like it was ahead of the time, but I definitely have a feeling if it wasn't paranormal, it might have even had a different reaction because you sprinkle that on top of it, you got a lot to swallow for people, for
well,
middle America.
you just said it. Middle America, you just said it. Middle America, America in all regions, apparently,
Mhm.
the elections to be believed, all regions of America have a space where we're not welcome.
Yeah.
And the reality of that is that the ratings, I think, reflected that. I think there was a lot of reviews that were very furious over the fact that Kristen Stewart would be involved with something that had queers in it. Is what they're
Which doesn't make sense. By
it's
the way, in case we forgot to mention this, Kristen Stewart was the producer, right? The
and
main producer,
creator.
and creator, and she narrated the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
So she was a big part of the show. Why would they be upset with her? She's like out. I mean, she's like, what? I don't get it. Why were
She
they
just
upset
got
with her?
married to her wife like through two
Right.
weekends ago, which by the way, congratulations, Christine. Kristen, that's great. It's fantastic. But she had just done a cover of Rolling Stone where she was grabbing her crotch. Like,
Yeah.
she's not the kind of person who's a prude. Is my
Right.
point. Is she's not the
Yeah.
kind of person who's gonna
So I don't
be
know why people were shocked about that. Was it the paranormal part? Because that's
you
my,
add
I
it
bet.
you added together. You
Mhm.
added together and it was so niche that
Very niche, yeah.
it to me, and here's the way I see it, and it'll just mark my words. I would rather be a cult hit any day of the week than a major hit series. Because if you look at cult hits, you've got things like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
It just cook over years, and
Yeah,
somebody finds it on a site that's like
right.
pirated, and then they stream it, and then it gets there's the message will never die. The message
I
will never.
agree.
So
I
you
agree.
just go ahead and hide it as much as you want to, because time will prove.
The internet doesn't die, people, and people will find whatever they wanna find, how they wanna find it, and it will last. So I do feel like it was ahead of its time.
Yeah,
I didn't really feel like it at the time. I thought it was like from because I've pitched shows and I've heard them say, "This is what they wanted." So I was like, "I don't understand. This is everything I've heard them say in pitches that they wanted."
yeah,
So it's kinda interesting. It does kinda make me think what you're saying could be true, that it was more political than other things than what we thought, or
right.
at least I thought. I thought for sure this was what the world is saying we're at, but here
Well,
we are.
here we are. Enough said.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
"Damn." Okay,
Well
so
said.
yeah, so what are you up to these days? Where can people find you? How can people get all your stuff, all your magic, everything that you do?
Well, you can go to kenboggle.com for everything. If there's something,
Everything.
everything. Don't go on social media to underscore Ken Boggle or Ken Boggle spelled with a capital I instead of an
He has a
L.
lot of
I
copycats.
have a lot of copycats that will take your money. They will steal from you.
Mhm.
They will rob from you. Don't do it. Just go to Ken Boggle, KenBoggle.com. There you'll find a link to all my official stuff. But if you look on the videos I post, and there's always now this thing that says officials.
Yes.
The official is at KenBoggle. No special characters. That's Instagram and TikTok and Twitter or
Do you
X.
do TikTok, Ken?
I don't do a lot of TikTok,
I
but
didn't think so, and I'm gonna call you. You better start doing
well,
TikTok.
I did one today.
Okay, good.
But the thing is, I'm a triple Aquarius, and I can't force myself to do what they want me to do to become a part of
That
the
person.
algorithm,
Yeah,
because that algorithm doesn't mean anything to me at all.
right.
And doing these, if I heard it's my anxiety, rah, ta, 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 if I heard it one more time, I thought I was going to throw my cell
I
phone.
agree.
I would rather not exist in that world, man.
But there's a niche, like just like we were talking about, there's a niche world in that world that if they find you, well, you don't have to do that. You can just do
Yeah,
your thing, do
I
your
just
own
I
thing.
just keep doing me, and like I find that doing podcasts like I'm doing with you right now, that is the ultimate way for me to find people like you. These people who sit down and listen to hard working folks doing a really decent quality
I
program.
agree.
That's the best way for me to find anybody because them's my people. I'm not here for you for your 45 second. I mean, I'm here for everybody, but if you want me to get up and do the cinnamon TikTok challenge, you can hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one gets filled faster. I ain't doing it.
It's
But anyway,
true. It's true. I've never done any of the trends, and then whenever I even tried, it never works. But if I just talk about what I do or, my work, it's just the only thing I can do because
yeah,
it doesn't come I can't do the trend thing. I get
yeah,
it. Okay, so they could find you on Instagram, TikTok, but what is it like you kind of touched on it? Can you just so people who are curious about the work you do, I know
yeah.
you and how you read and I know you teach and do
Yes.
you do a little witchy stuff too?
Well, not really witchy stuff.
Okay,
I'm the kind of person that just does magic because there's magic. Like
got it. Same.
I never take a label. The Dalai Lama said it wasn't a good idea. So
Same.
what I
I
do is
agree.
I teach a 9 class tarot course.
Okay.
And everything I do is pay as you go and schedule as you go. So you're not up due up front anything massive. And we schedule
Mhm.
as we go. So your schedule kind of really works. And it's individual unless you and your partner want to do it. I just finished one of those earlier. But I teach tarot. I teach psychic development, which is a way for you to learn my 6 step process, my granny 6 step process. And it's a lot like everybody else's. We just have different things we call it, but mine's psychic development. And then I have a meditation class that I offer, which I just teach you the foundations of meditation. I
Okay.
find out how you're doing, and then I teach other techniques that might be beneficial to you because your way of meditating could be different than mine. Then I teach,
I love it so
I,
much. Yeah.
I have a new thing called reflections, the reflection session. And there we do an overall astrological birth chart review. And because I'm learning that the stars and the planets have a lot to say and a lot to do in our lives, I've come to understand it. But we include inside of that reflection session the mirror spread. And now this is a mirror spread that is done only by me. Nobody else knows it because it came to me while I was unconscious, having
Okay.
surgery. And it is a
Okay.
great way for you to take inventory of your life here and now. So the reflection session is part who you were when you were born and what the kind of structure is and what your sort of path is. That is followed up by the mirror in that we figure out where you're at right now. What do we need in this moment? How do we learn from our structure as a star, as being born of these stars and these planets?
Mhm.
We learn from all of it. What do we do? How do we approach it? It is a great, fantastic, wonderful session to take. And again, that's just one session. And, it runs about an hour. But
Okay.
yeah, you can find it all on kenboggle.com. Just hit the contact us
Wait
or
a minute, but we have to just back up a little bit. What do you mean you saw this while you're unconscious getting surgery? Like,
yeah,
how do you have any memory of anything happening while you're getting surgery?
I was under. The doctor ran
Okay.
late. They woke me up again. I sat there for about an hour. Then he was like, "Get him in the room." They put me down a second time. I was gone. I
Okay.
I started to come to in the recovery room. And as I
Okay.
come to, it was like I had my eyes on this map of how these cards were to be laid out the entire time. It was like, like
Oh,
if you stare at a dot for so long, you move your eyes and the dot is still there.
right.
That
Right.
that map of those 10 cards was exactly the way it was supposed to be. And as I was recovering, it became clear to me what each one of those cards meant and how it was to be viewed. I said to the lady who was taking care of me in the recovery room, I said, "I need a piece of paper and I need a pen. I need to draw this tarot spread." And she had these massive hands and she was waving them in my face. She's like, "You need to wake up because she said, you have the heartbeat of a dying tortoise." She said, "So
Jesus!
you need to wake."
The nurse said that?
Yeah, she was laughing. She did make it clear that if I didn't sit up straight and start taking deep breaths, that she was going to heal.
Yeah.
She was going to wake me up one way or the other.
Oh
So I was
my
like,
goodness.
okay, I'll buy my time. But as soon as I was on a good beep, good beep
Yeah.
rhythm, they
Yeah.
brought me a pen and an envelope, and I drew it. And it has been the most profound thing ever.
That is cool.
Yeah, it helps
I
you
mean, I'm
understand
just
people and situations and
yeah.
events, spirits. I use it for spirit communication and everything. The mirror
I
is
mean, just
essential.
even how you came across it. I'm just glad to know you were in recovery because you were freaking me out because you're not supposed to be conscious of anything when you're getting surgery.
Mm,
But now I'm glad to know this was like you were kind of in the dream wake
yeah.
state, I
But
guess.
I had to been shown that map
Yeah.
throughout the entire time because I couldn't shake it from my eyes. I couldn't
Oh,
shake it from my eyes. I was looking around and
interesting.
still seeing it. So it was just blazed in my eyes. And I'll tell you this, there's a couple people who claim that they teach the Ken Boggle mirror and they don't. I don't even teach it.
Somebody claims that they are
Yeah.
teaching your
Yeah.
particular thing?
Yeah. And in fact, one lady said, money is not an object. How much would it be to learn it? I said, $10,000. 10,000 bucks immediately and I'll teach it to you right
Right.
now. But she of course, well, that was slightly too much money and I engineered it that way. But that'll come in my dying days. If anybody's interested. Actually, even if they're not interested, I'll share that in my dying days. There's no way that's getting away from me yet cuz a
No.
lot of people
Yeah.
can't grasp the importance of what it is and
Okay.
and another way I don't want anybody to misuse it.
Right. Of course.
And
Yeah,
don't
you gotta
attach
keep
and especially don't misuse it and attach my name to it, like, that ain't gonna be the way. So
I
come
know that
see me
happens a lot.
for the reflection session, kenboggle.com. And also, lastly, find me every Friday morning from, what time do I go in? 6 until 10 AM, Friday mornings on KISS 96.9 FM. I go in early Friday mornings, and I
Sweet.
co-host a morning show.
Wow.
Yeah, I get to introduce Madonna and Tina Turner. I get to play great music. I'm there with the real
Do they
host.
let you do your dance in the studio? Have you done your
No,
dance for them?
no, but they do let me do a tarot weekend forecast. So on Fridays, you can tune in on 96.9 and get a tarot weekend forecast with your buddy Kim Boggle.
All right, everybody. You heard it. These are all the ways you can get yourself some Ken Boggle, all of his things. Although I am looking forward to seeing if maybe you start doing dancing as well on Kiss FM
Wouldn't that be
and
great?
bringing in the energy into the studio.
You know,
But
maybe the next TikTok we do. Maybe the next TikTok we do.
the next TikTok you do. Thank you so much for coming on. I so appreciate it. I'm glad we finally made this happen. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of
And
fun. I
and real
appreciate
quickly,
it.
I'm gonna interrupt you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for reaching out the way you have, and thank you for being so kind to me when you were, as consistent as you were, so very patient with me because I really went through a very hard time, and you were really cool, lady, really cool to me, and I respect you and I appreciate you for it. And I just thought, as before we leave, you should have somebody tell you, I think you're pretty great too, and thank you for being a solid human being. Okay,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Now, don't be making me cry.
girl,
Thank you. So I really appreciate it. I feel like when it comes to the reader world, if we don't see each other and kind of know what we're going through, then I don't really understand the point.
here, here.
So absolutely, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you again. You guys go check his shit out. Go check all of his stuff out. And he's just as cool. this is who he is. I've talked to him off of, recording, and this is who he is. That's, I wouldn't have somebody on if I didn't see that they were the real deal.
We love that.
Thank you so much. Have a great, and everybody, real quick before we close, don't forget to follow the House Medium on Instagram. And you know the spiel, you know the deal. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon. Bye.